You have to separate the business and personal expenses and income. So you need to have a separate bank account. It needs to be very clear. So you need to have your own personal account and your own business account, checking and savings. You can do transfers and you'll pay yourself and all that, but just make sure that it's just very clear. And it's important because of tax purposes too. It will help your tax preparer. So you want to make sure that you're distinguishing the business and the personal.
Hey there, you're listening to the Priority Pursuit Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping small business owners and leaders define, maintain, and pursue both their personal and business priorities so they can build lives and businesses they love. I'm your host, Victoria Rayburn, and if you are a regular Priority Pursuit listener, you know that Kelly and I regularly share that there are 3 keys to building a successful small business: having a great product or service, offering an incredible customer experience, and using a marketing strategy that actually works. Well, friend, there is a 4th key that, in all honesty, we do not discuss on the show nearly often enough: managing your finances. That said, I am thrilled to have Linda Karressy on the show today to discuss this critical aspect of building and running a successful business. Specifically, 5 steps to managing your finances and increasing your cash flow. Linda is a fractional CFO and trainer for service-based businesses and nonprofits. She is the founder and CEO of Insight Financial Group and Insight Business Academy. Linda uses her accounting mastery skills to foster a no-judgment environment where individuals can be open and shameless about their business finances and habits. Linda believes everyone deserves an accountant who will not talk down to them, but break things down in a respectful manner. Linda strives to break down accounting to its lowest denominator so that everyone can grasp it. And fun fact, Linda is also out of Indiana. While our office is in Lafayette, I'm based in Indianapolis, and so is Linda. So ironically, we are recording today's episode, and we are probably just like a mile apart, actually, if I'm thinking that correctly. But Linda, it is an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Go Hoosiers.
Oh, yes. Amen. And boilers and all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and Pacers.
Yes. Yes. Especially this week.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember when this episode's coming out, but the Pacers, guys, they're killing it right now. But anyway, Linda, I know that was a very brief introduction of you. Would you mind just telling us a little bit more about yourself and your business and how you serve small businesses?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. So, Insight Financial Group, my goal is to educate. I'm all about educating. As we know, with small business owners, many times we are operating our finances in what I call chaos. And a lot of times we don't know what to do. How do I get organized? How do I not feel this feeling of I never have enough cash? So, our goal is to first get systems in place so you know what you have on hand. And particularly when I say systems, it's really processes. It really is. And those are the things that most of us don't like to do, which I like to do is processes, having things in place, such as record keeping and all that good stuff. So not only the accounting piece, and I would say a lot of times we get, particularly in accountants, we kind of commingle the words, I guess, accounting and bookkeeping and CFO. So really the bookkeeping is the day to day. You're invoicing, you're paying the bills, someone is tracking inventory. So that's the day to day. That's the bookkeeping piece. The accounting piece is really, okay, how much cash am I bringing in? Am I making a profit? That's not what I call the higher level. I consider accounting has different levels. And so based on where you are, you may just need a bookkeeper. You may just, and then you may need not only a bookkeeper, you may need an accountant. So accountant is that higher level where they can actually sit with you and help you understand your numbers.
Love that. Thank you for breaking all of that down. And like you said, so many of us as small business owners, this is not our favorite part of owning a small business. I mean, of course, you want to be profitable, but I think it's safe to say so many of us, whether we make a passion our full-time job or you have a skill set that it just makes sense to start a business with, you don't necessarily sign up for the accounting side of things.
Yeah, yeah, you don't. And I consider it's almost like with the, the marketing side of your business, even the IT, like someone has to own it. So when we're first starting out, we're basically having to be the marketing team, the HR team, and the accounting team, which most people with the accounting function, we kind of just push aside. We know we have a bank account, the money's coming in, and that's okay. But then it gets to a point where it's like, I'm not making enough money myself. So that's where we as accounting professionals can come and help you understand what needs to be in place, what you should be looking at. So like I would say, there always needs to be somebody managing the process. Even if you hire someone for social media, you still have to like oversee that. Like someone has to oversee that process. And with accounting, like you said, that's usually not the fun part. The fun part, but it should be the fun part because it's all about making money and having the life you desire. Because money, allows us to have opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, Linda, speaking of, having somebody to manage these processes, I know that you also serve as a fractional CFO. Could you tell us a little bit about what that looks like? Because I think a lot of small businesses don't even necessarily realize that they can hire a fractional CFO.
Hmm.
So, what do you do in that role? Why should
Yeah.
small businesses hire a fractional CFO? And then I guess also I want to ask, when should they hire a fractional CFO? Like, how big does your business need to be to know this is the next hire we need to make?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, a fractional CFO, what that stands for is Chief Financial Officer. So, for those of us in Indiana, we're all familiar with Eli Lilly. They have a full-time CFO and then like a vice president of finance and all those things. So, for a small business, what I do is really providing that financial oversight. I'm taking the financial oversight from the founder or the leadership team so they can focus on providing that customer service, creating new products. The financial oversight is where I'm coming in and helping the bookkeeper, or it could be the office manager managing the finances. So the bookkeeper or the office manager, they're doing the day to day, and I'm also making sure that that day to day is being taken care of. Also looking at the numbers, probably on a weekly basis. And when I say the numbers, looking at the cash flow. Are we on track with cash flow? How is revenue looking? Is there anything that I need to let management know about? And particularly so, for instance, if they're rolling out a new product or service, look at the cash flow. How's things going? I see that this particular bill hasn't came in. Oh, you signed this new contract. What's the payment terms? Let's put that in the cash flow. So that's where a CFO will come in, is where providing that set of eyes that is just dedicated to the finances and then going back to whether that's the business owner or to the overall leadership team and saying, okay, financially, here's an update where we are, particularly cash flow wise. With small businesses, cash flow is very, very key. Um, and I would say with the accountants, and this is what I've learned, I came from corporate. And so in corporate, we're just so focused on profit and loss statement and balance sheet. But for small businesses, cash flow is key. Nothing wrong with looking at your P&L, but with the CFO, we're constantly looking at cash flow because that keeps the doors open. Cash flow is really in what I could consider simple terms, the cash coming in, actually hitting the bank account, and cash going out. Because a lot of times we're looking at the profit and loss statement. So the profit and loss statement is recording revenue. It's recording that bills, but though that revenue may not be actual cash because every time we create an invoice, that's not cash. That's just revenue. And so this is where the CFO can come in and help the organization understand that nuance. Also, too, with a CFO can also assist you with tax planning, helping you get your tax records ready for your tax, whoever's going to prepare your taxes. We also assist with budgeting, also training. I like to do a lot of training with the team, with the staff, so everyone knows they have a part in the accounting cycle. So, for instance, a lot of business owners tell me, well, my team, they're coming to me like in the hallway saying, okay, can we purchase this? And I just say yes. then they go back weeks later, like, well, why don't we have any cash? I didn't know about that. So that's where I'm helping the team understand, okay, we have a purchase order process where you have to complete this form, you have to tell us what it's for, all that good stuff, estimates and quotes, and then it's signed off by the business owner or whoever they report to, and then it gets sent back to the accounting team. And so this is where it alleviates some of the stress and confusion too. And things do not get dropped. So the fractional CFO is really that oversight, making sure the numbers look correctly, just really, like I said, another set of eyes and ears for that business owner to say, okay, this is what I see, and then that business owner too says, okay, this is what is going on. This is what I expect. And then we come to, some type of resolution. We're all on the same page. That's what I think most business owners want. They want that peace of mind that it's being taken care of. Someone is looking out for them and the business. So that's in a nutshell. That's what a CFO does. And a good question is, when is the time for the CFO? I would say, probably when you get to probably that $1 million mark, because that's when you start to get, I don't want to say more complicated, but there's more layers. And you want someone to be tracking that revenue as a business owner. When you get to that 1 million mark, you're doing other things. You're really now probably focusing on staff, developing staff. And that's a lot when you're trying to develop staff and then also try to do the invoicing, the billing, trying to manage the bookkeeper, and then trying to understand cash flow, financial statements, because a lot of times, most small businesses, they start off with a bookkeeper, which is fine. The bookkeeper updates the software, categorizes transactions, and then sends reports. They necessarily don't sit down with you and say, okay, this is what I see so far. I see that, we're paying our bills on time, but we're still not, the cash is not increasing. So, let's look at to see what your products are. Let's see if there's a product that's not making enough money and we need to focus on products that are making, that type of, that critical thinking. Those, I call those with my clients, we have a quarterly finance, check in where we're reviewing those type of questions. So, when you get to a point when you're that $1 million mark and then you go home and you start to ask yourself those questions like, I didn't realize, I thought the numbers would say this. I don't understand why cash is still, low, or I don't understand why bills are not being paid. Because as you start to grow, things, like I said, there's more layers. There's more layers. And so you may not have certain processes in place to handle that increase because people don't realize it's great to have increased revenue, but you probably have more bills. You have more staff. You have to review payroll. So that's where a fractional CFO can come in and help streamline some of those processes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Linda, I appreciate so much about everything you just said, and I want to dive into all of it, but I know we need to stay on track because I know you have really great stuff to share with us today. But you're absolutely right, and I mean, I think there are you. I already talked about this a little bit. Like there are a lot of parallels for small businesses between marketing your business and then handling your finances. You just get to this point where you can't do all of it. There are so
Yes,
many tools out there, and I
yes,
think that because of tools and AI and everything else, like small businesses, I mean, small business owners have always tried to handle a lot,
lot,
but because
yes,
of these tools, I think that they really think like, oh, if I can just streamline this enough, it'll be fine. But you really do need that expert, especially when you
yes,
have all those layers to
yes,
have that outside
yeah,
perspective. I mean, I know we encounter this with marketing all the time, but we find that a lot of times people are too close to their businesses to necessarily market it well to determine what their messaging is. And I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming that it's probably pretty similar with their finances.
yep. And you're right. And I like that term, too close, because sometimes people don't realize that it's not a good business habit, certain things that you're doing. So, for instance, like always go back to the whole, staff coming to the business owner saying, can we order, instead of going through a process of, you need to do your research. Where's the estimates? Where's the quotes? Is it in your budget? those type of things. And so, and you're right, sometimes you can be too close to it and not realize that, I didn't realize that, we're not collecting our invoices in a timely manner. That they just, because they go back to when they were doing it, things just, started to flow. And you're right, sometimes you can be too close to it. And this is where I think, like you and myself, we're from the outside, so we have a different point of view and we can see things differently since we're not. I don't want to say not in it, but we're not. They're invested, particularly if they're the founders. That's their baby,
Oh,
and so
absolutely. Yes.
yeah, they have a different perspective. And I would
Hmm.
even also say with finance, sometimes we as business owners have this belief like, well, I know I'm not doing it right, so I don't want anyone to know. You didn't go to school for this. So there's no, right in accounting. Yes, there's some best practices you should be doing, but I don't know, if you're not collecting your invoices on time, that's not the end of the world because your to-do list is probably 100 things in one day, So I think sometimes too that creeps in with business owners, that feeling of, oh, I know I wasn't doing it correctly, or I'm never going to understand, math. And I always tell people, I think accounting is not, it's more than just spreadsheets and math. It really, it's really about, is this what I want to do? Is this business actually fulfilling what I set out to do? It's so much more than just, oh, okay, let's go get QuickBooks and code. But you really have to sit down and say, okay, you set out to create this product and service. You want to solve this problem, so let's, handle the different pieces to running the business, and accounting is one of those pieces.
Yes. Well, Linda, that's actually a really great segue to the next question that I have for you, because I think you're already very much hinting at this anxiety and fear that small businesses owners have. Because, I mean, they to be blunt, like they don't want to feel dumb.
Yeah,
So, a lot of small business owners and leaders have a lot of worries when it comes to managing
yeah,
their finances. In your experience, what are some of the underlying reasons for this fear and how can they overcome it? I mean, we've already talked about this a little bit, but you're talking to these small business owners day in and day out. I'm sure you have a
yeah,
long list.
yeah. I think the underlying issues, I think number one, our personal finance habits flow into our business. So I would say if you don't have good personal finance habits, I'm not saying perfect, but work on your personal finance habits. And that even goes for me. When I talk about personal finance habits, I mean, okay, are you tracking your money? Is it reasonable? Are you budgeting your own personal money? Are you trying to get deals, spending wisely? Are you also saving? And I know for small businesses, particularly when you're starting off, and even when you're in that like 7 year, 10-year mark, you're still kind of still struggling, and you're probably paying yourself a lower salary than the rest of your staff. But really look at your personal finance habits. I'm now reading a book about personal finance. Like, now we have, for kids or families getting large, how can we now get a handle on our personal finances as the family's getting larger? So I would say, look at your personal finance habits. And number two, what is your mindset about money? And particularly, I think in our culture, we're taught that, oh, rich people are bad, they're this and that. And it's interesting because on one hand, we all want money and we all need it. So I just finished a book. I think everyone should check out The Psychology of Money. I forgot the author, but everyone should read that book. And really you have to have a well balanced mindset about money, you know, and also it's not about the mindset about what I think, but what do you think? Everyone is different. And that's what I like about the book. He said, not, you don't, you have to, what's comfortable for you. So if a salary of 50,000 is comfortable, a salary of 100K, whatever, that's comfortable for you. And so just be comfortable with that. But really, I would say people have to have a, we don't have a, particularly small business owners, we don't have a good relationship with money because maybe the way that we grew up. It could be also that maybe we had some hardships, particularly after college. People have graduated with, tons of student loans and other debt. So really think about, what is your mindset with money? Like, what do you think about money? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of money in your life? And I think number three is that you have to tell yourself you can learn this. It's not like you're going to be an accountant. But I always go back to the show Shark Tank. On the show Shark Tank, they just ask them what I consider key matrix. That's all you need to know about your business. You don't need to know how to book depreciation, book accrual. You need to know, okay, what is my annual sales? What's, my monthly expenses? So when you look at your cash account, you can kind of say, okay, I need this much in my account to cover expenses. What are my top products and services? Those type of questions. That's where you want to get to. You want to, know that a profit and loss statement includes your revenue and expenses. You want to know that your balance sheet includes things that the business owns and the things that you owe. And what I can, and I know I can say basic, but to me those are really basic things. The goal is not for you to be an accountant, but get confident and believe in yourself that you can learn what I consider just basic accounting. So okay, when you look at your finances, from whoever, you can say, okay, that seems reasonable, or that doesn't look quite right. But really build up that confidence. And, how you build that confidence is listening to podcasts, like these webinars. I'm big on other, podcasts, also reading too. Listening to business news is also, very good. So I think those are some of the underlining, particularly how you grew up, what you were told about money, and then your personal finance habit. It's hard because these are things that I believe no one can come and fix but you.
Mm. Oh,
And
that
so
is so good.
that is where I think it really, people are like, no one is going to come and save me. So it's going to be up to you to say, okay, I made some bad decisions money wise in my personal life. I did it,
Hmm.
probably in the business. Now, what am I going to do? And you're not going to be perfect all the time.
Hmm.
And people have to understand you're not going to be perfect. So this is where you just have to say, okay, next time I'm going to learn, what lesson did I learn, and implement it.
What would you do with an extra 45 minutes every workday? That would save you 16 hours a month, or roughly 8 days a year. And over the course of your career, we're talking about over 1 year of your life saved. All that time back. Well, many independent business owners spend far more than 45 minutes a day on administrative tasks. And with HoneyBook, you can get that time back and then some. HoneyBook lets you easily manage projects, contracts, invoices, scheduling, and client communication, saving you time and allowing you to better serve your clients. For a discount on your first year of HoneyBook, visit honeybook.com and subscribe with the code PriorityPursuit. 45 minutes a day adds up quickly. Use it to focus on what matters most.
Do you ever get frustrated when you have to wait weeks for your web designer to make a simple change to your website? Is your current website so slow that it's hurting your SEO? Or do you wish designing a web page was easier? If so, you have to try Showit. It's a drag and drop website platform that provides complete creative freedom over the layout and design of your website. So whether you're looking to DIY your site with a Showit template or work with a professional designer, Showit is the perfect web builder for small businesses. As an agency, we build many of our clients' websites with Showit because it gives our designers the freedom to build strategic, visually on-brand websites rather than being forced to use a specific layout like you are with other website builders. And it comes with robust servers, meaning Showit websites are exceptionally fast, even if you're a photographer with lots of images on your site. And it's easy for our clients to use. While we are always happy to make website changes, things can change fast in small businesses. And sometimes our clients need to be able to easily update a thing or two on their own websites. So we love Showit so much that we want to give you an opportunity to try our favorite web builder for free. Whether you like to try Showit or you're already convinced that it's the right web builder for you, visit treefrogmarketing.com/Showit to receive 1 free month of Showit. Again, visit treefrogmarketing.com/Showit to try Showit for free, and so that you can have a website that is easy to use but works as hard as you do.
Yes, well, we will definitely include a link to that book in the show notes. I think everybody needs to check it out. But I feel like I've thought about it, but not really thought about it. But yeah, I'm so glad you bring up the side of your personal finances and I mean your relationship with money, because you're absolutely right. That is a mindset that you probably unknowingly bring into your business. And I think so many of us try to compartmentalize, this is my personal life and this is my business. But when you are a small business owner, as we
Yes.
all know, so
Yes.
much of it overlaps, but
Yes.
money definitely overlaps. I mean, not to mention how much money you're making also affects how much money your family has. I mean,
Yes.
oh, what a twisted spot. But I'm glad that also that you said that it's okay just to know the basics. I feel like you probably said those words and all our listeners just took a very, very deep breath.
Yeah. 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 That's all you need to know. Just, and I tell people as you start to review it, and particularly if you can find an accounting professional who sits with you, once a month and they kind of explain things. Okay, this is how this works. Like, for instance, a lot of business owners, like when they get a business loan, when you start to pay that loan, that payment doesn't hit the profit and loss statement. It hits the balance sheet because that loan is on the balance sheet. And every time you make a payment, that loan balance should go down. Those are the things you want to know as a business owner. When you look at a financial, like understanding, okay, oh, I'm looking at the balance sheet, I'm looking at the loan section. So if I'm making a payment, my loan balance should be going down. And so those are the things that, as you start to what I call get more familiar with them, you start to have that relationship. I always kind of like it, like you start to date more, you start to know, like, oh, okay, that's what that means. And so you're just building that muscle.
So many good points. This episode is already full of so much wisdom. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Okay. So I feel like we just made everybody feel a lot better. However, for the sake of making sure people are not making financial mistakes, we're going to make them feel maybe a little worse for just a second. So if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what are some common financial mistakes that small businesses make and how can they avoid them?
Yeah. I would say number one, and this goes from the solo entrepreneurs and then even those that are like that 2 million, even 3 million
Mm.
mark. You have to separate the business and personal expenses and income. So you need to have a separate bank account. It needs to be very clear. So you need to have your own personal account and your own business account, checking and savings. And so just make sure that's very clear. You can do transfers and you'll pay yourself and all that, but just make sure that is just very clear. And it's important because of tax purposes too. It will help your tax preparer. So you want to make sure that you're distinguishing the business and the personal, regarding that. I would say that number two is record keeping. For me, that's big. You want to have some type of system where you're just keeping all your documents. I know we get things on email electronically now, we get things on our phone. I would say if you have to hire someone for a couple hours a week or a couple hours a month, just to say, okay, put these documents in these folders. I'll give you, so when COVID hit, a lot of businesses they weren't able to apply because they didn't have their documents. They didn't know where things were. And so this is where I say you can use cloud, I mean whether that's Google Drive, OneDrive, whatever it may be, have folders for all of your records, for all of your receipts, for all of your business loans. You can have a folder called business loans. Put all that information in there, copies of your financial statements. Even though you may use an accounting software, I always recommend that you download and put it on your company drive. Even the payroll reports, put all of that on there. All of your contracts, if you have 1099s, your all of those things, because one day you're going to need that information. So I think that's really the big thing is because I mean they don't know where anything is. They don't their bylaws, their previous tax returns, save all of those documents. I think that's another one. And then number three, I think another mistake, and I don't know if this is a mistake, but I think we in the accounting profession, we do not teach this, is cash flow, like monitoring your bank account. So some business owners, they never look at their bank account because they're afraid. Look at your bank account once a week. I tell people sometimes twice a week, even if you're making 2 million. Look at your bank account. Okay, is this what you're expecting to come in? Look at it. Um, You may have already have an accountant or bookkeeper, but I always tell business owners, ultimately the accounting responsibility is your responsibility. So when something goes awry or something's good happen, that's it's up to you. So look at the bank account. Oh, this deposit came in, this expenses, or it could be something like you didn't recognize. And so that's where you go back and say, why is this not? Why was this paid? What is this? And so look at your bank account. That's how you can manage, particularly when you are probably that 1 million to 2 million. That it's to me, that's the most efficient way to manage your finances is to look at your bank account. I would also say look at your credit card. So unfortunately, we have a lot of fraud going on. So even with your bank account, you want to look at it once a week. Even if you say, well, I don't use the credit card often, just go in there and look at it, see what's going on. So I think probably another mistake is not looking at what products and services are making you money. We're in the business, we get up every day, we're, producing the product or service and not really stepping back and saying, okay, is this product and service really, is it worth it? Is this something that people, people need? Because sometimes I think as business owners, where we build it out of a passion, but it's not necessarily what people want. So really look at I think that's probably a mistake not looking at your products and services. I see businesses who had like 10 or 15 different products. And I'm like, you're only been in existence like for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say those are probably the common mistakes that I see.
Thank you for breaking that down so simply. I hope that people listening are either like, oh, my finances are in better shape than I thought, or they're thinking, oh, okay, those are the things that I need to make some changes with. So, Linda, I'm really excited for this next portion of the episode because I know that you've developed a framework of 5 steps to help small businesses effectively manage their finances and increase the cash flow that you were just talking about.
Hmm.
Could you walk us through these steps and just
Yeah.
explain the rationale behind each
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. I came up with this framework because these are really goes back to common mistakes or things that just when you start off, you just don't know. You just don't know like what I need to do. You may go to a business workshop and, people will say, well, get QuickBooks. People don't realize QuickBooks doesn't do your accounting. It's just a software. And so I wanted something just to say, okay, just do these 5 steps. Just start off with these 5 steps. I don't want to keep using the word simple, but these are steps everyone can do. So, number one, it goes back to record keeping. This is from your solo entrepreneur, even to those that are 2 million, 5 million right now. Because I've worked with businesses 5 million and they have no folders, nothing is
Oh boy.
organized. So you want to organize your documents. So, for instance, receipts. If you want to apply for a loan, sometimes they want to see quotes, they want to see receipts, they want to see payroll reports. Start to have whatever record keeping system. And when I say record keeping, that means just basically storing and saving the documents, having different folders for these type of documents. I would say with receipt, this is small businesses struggle because everything is electronic now. So we order online and then we get the order confirmation, which is the receipt, through email. I would still suggest you save that as a PDF and save it in a folder because emails, who knows with emails, they can be shut down one day and you may need that document for a particular reason. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to start with the record keeping. That's not the fun part. That's really
But you did say that is something that like a bookkeeper could
Yeah,
take care of for
yeah.
you.
Even an office manager, if you have an intern, and particularly if you have staff, just train them on, okay, if project manager is responsible for ordering, okay, have them start saving the documents, themselves. So that is really key. So, yep, your bookkeeper, office manager, they can help you with that record keeping piece. Number two, goes back to the separating the business and personal. That is very key. And I forgot to mention, because taxes, you want to make sure that you're getting the benefit being a business owner. There's a tax benefit of being a business owner. So separate the business and personal, not only with the checking, the checking accounts, but even like with the receipts, speak with your tax preparer about, because I know sometimes business owners end up putting things in their personal name, which they probably should have put it in the business name. So you want to talk to a professional about that, keeping, the business and personal. Number three, I've talked a lot about this, keeping an eye on cash. A lot of small business workshops, we focus once again on profit and loss statement and balance sheet. We have to focus on cash. And I would say you have to be double minded, because you have to know like the audience and the purpose. So, like for instance, if you're talking to a bank about a business loan, you're going to talk to them, you're going to show them the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet. That's going to be more what we consider accrual basis. They may ask for a cash flow eventually, but then internally look at the cash, because if you're able to increase your cash, then you're increasing revenue. And then you're basically able to sustain your business. You're able to take that extra cash and maybe invest it in other products and services, maybe possibly, purchase another business. So that's why it's so important to look at that bank account, because if you think about it, the bank account, that's where everything flows in and out. It flows in and out. So if you just focus on the bank account, and for instance, say, I don't know, monthly sales is 5,000, and you know that your monthly expenses, let's just say, is 3,000, then your balance should be around maybe 3,500 just for a cushion. So if you're looking at your bank account and you see today that I only have 2,000, let me see if there's an outstanding invoice that's going to be coming in. Um, Maybe do I need to maybe delay a bill? So you're being more proactive. So if you can start to focus on that top line, cash coming in, and that way you're always in what I consider that business is growing. When you're increasing cash, your business is growing. So always making sure you're always keeping an eye on cash, because that's where small businesses fail, because they don't have enough cash.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have
I
enough
love the
cash.
simplicity of that, Linda. I mean, and that's like you said, like you need to know what your basic numbers
Yeah.
are. If you
Yeah.
know the basics, and yes, you can do a flash look at your bank
Yeah.
account and make a very easy assessment.
Yeah.
But I think so often when people don't know the basics, they look at their bank accounts, well, if they are brave enough to look at them,
Yeah.
and they just
Mhm.
go with their gut, and that
Yeah.
is not a
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah. No, no, exactly. And so if you right now, if you don't know what your monthly sales is or your monthly expenses, you know what? Go to back to the previous month, look at the bank statement, total everything for, say, all the what I consider cash coming in, all the deposits, total all of the expenses. So that's, some banks listed as ACH and checks, total all of that up and just say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just start from there. Then every month say, okay, like I said, sales, I don't know, 5,000, expenses maybe 3,000, but right now the balance is 2,000. So you need to at least cover that 3,000. And that's where, like I said, just using those steps. That don't try to oversimplify it and, go to QuickBooks and open up all these different reports and create, different spreadsheets. Let we accountants can do all of that. But for and this even for I would even for if you're making 2 million, 3 million, do this for the same thing. Go open up that bank account and do that, because I mean, I've talked to one lady years ago, and she was, making 3 to 4 million, and she, lost it all because of cash flow. So that's where cash is it's so important, because and I know now I'm kind of going into the accounting piece up, because when let's say you use QuickBooks, you're looking at the P&L, and the revenue. So say if you're invoicing your customers, they're not paying you when you invoice them. So that's why, once again, going back to, and I'm using the framework, that framework is Business Made Simple from Donald Miller,
Mm-hmm.
using the bank account to manage your finances. And when I went through that training, I'm like, oh my God, why did we, they didn't teach
Yes.
that's in business school. It was all
Mm-hmm.
about profit and loss, balance sheet, record your revenue,
Mm-hmm.
record your expenses. But how the real world works with small
Mm-hmm.
businesses is cash.
Yes.
You got to look at that bank account. You have to look at that bank account. And then the last two, I would say use an accounting software, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or up to 5 million. There's different options, Wave, there's Wave. A lot of people don't know about Wave. Wave is a free accounting software. So if you're a solo entrepreneur, that may be a good option for you. There's QuickBooks, there's Zero. If you once you decide on accounting software, get someone to train you on it. Because a lot of times people get like QuickBooks and they're like, "Oh, I haven't used it in 3 years."
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want that to happen. And then
Yes. Yeah. Tools are only
lastly,
helpful if you use
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And lastly, even I had to learn this is planning for taxes. And what I mean is having a tax planning session quarterly with your tax preparer. And so, like with my CPA, we meet quarterly. They ask me, okay, what's estimated sales for the quarter, the next quarter, the expenses, and then what we call they run the numbers to see if, oh, am I going to be owing or refund? And so that's where, tax planning comes into key, particularly for businesses. So if you're going to planning on purchasing a vehicle or getting a business loan, whatever it may be, that tax planner can help mitigate some of that risk. So definitely put that on your to-do list to have a tax planning session quarterly.
Linda, this has all been so good. And I do just want to say, like, I so appreciate that you've built a business where you specifically help small business owners, not feel silly for
Yeah.
asking questions. They're really breaking it down, because I think there is just a lot of shame around
Mhm.
this. I mean, I will be the first
Yeah.
to tell you that, well, I did pretty well in most areas of school. Math was not it for me. So that is by far the most stressful part of owning a small business, in my situation, at least. But you've made this so approachable. And Linda, I know people are going to want to hear more from you. So where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about the many resources and resources and most services that you offer small
Yeah,
businesses?
yeah, definitely. I would say I'm on LinkedIn, Insight Financial Group. My full name is, you can find me also on LinkedIn, Linda Karressy. Also check out my YouTube channel. I have tons of videos. I do weekly videos, just short videos on different topics. So the YouTube channel is Insight GRP. So I'm sorry, Insight Financial GRP. So definitely check out my YouTube channel. Once again, they're short videos, 1 minute, 2 minute videos on the different topics. Once again, this is where you can just build up your confidence about learning about accounting terminology, but definitely check me out on LinkedIn. That's where you can reach out to me. Also, my website, if you want a free consultation, Insight Financial Group, Indy. So those are the three platforms.
Well, we will link to all of those places in the show notes, as well as the many really helpful resources, Linda, that you have shared with us today. Thank you again so much for coming on the show. It has really been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Don't be overwhelmed. It's day to day. There's no silly question. And Victoria, you're right. A lot of people think, oh, this is a dumb question. There's nothing. Once again, we accountants don't even know everything.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. That will be my mantra every
Yeah.
tax season from now on. And then for those of you listening, thank you for tuning into another episode of Priority Pursuit. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll take a moment to share it with your small business friends, and that you'll join us next week for even more marketing, boundary, and priority driven tactics you can use to build a life and small business that you love.